Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 130. Tonight on the cast is myself, Vinto, and Alex, aka Zebrewolf. We're going to be talking about X-Men 97, episode 7. We're going to be talking about the Deadpool 3 trailer, which launched at the start of the week, and any other nerdy news in between. If you're new to the channel, make sure you drop a subscription on it and leave a like on the way out. It really helps us grow. Without further ado, here we go. Yo, bro, what's happening?
Nothing much. How you been, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Busy week, and a busy weekend, which kind of sucked because I didn't get any time to just chill when it was a week where I really needed it. It was just all go all week. So yeah, like I'm literally recording this now and I'm going straight to bed, and then I got to start another work week. So yeah, it's been rough. How about you?
Yeah, same here. It's been pretty hectic. We're actually merging with another team, so we're gonna have a lot more work on our hands, things to sort out. And we might get like an extra person like during on call, so they might elongate it to every, I think, 4 weeks. Then I'll be on call. So that might be a positive. It just depends on like how much work we're actually going to be dealing with. But
Is that
I mean,
is that a financial hit for you, or no?
no, not necessarily. I think what I can do though is negotiate for higher money, because if we're going to be doing a lot more stuff, like if we're combining teams, we're going to be taking care of other shit. And then I'm also working on some additional assessments that like are technically optional, but if you do it, it looks good on your review. So I'm something like I'm really gonna shoot high, man. Like I want to hit six figures within 4 years, and I've got like, if I do this, if I play my cards right, I should be able to do it in 2.5.
Fuck yeah, dude, that's great. That's epic. Well, we're rooting for you. Tonight on the cast, we've got X-Men 97, episode 7, which was incredible, in my opinion. Can't wait to kind of hear what you think about it. And the Deadpool 3 trailer, which, again, blew me away. I threw up on this channel a reaction to the video, like, the day after it went live. So we record these live on a Sunday. That trailer came out on Monday, I think. So it's been out for, like, a full week, almost. So, I'm sure plenty of people have watched it 100 times, so they probably don't even want to hear us talk about it. But we haven't talked about it officially here, so let's talk about it. Also, maybe we can go through a couple of other bits. Maybe if there's some nerdy news you want to bring up, or if anyone in the chat wants to bring anything up, we can. And I've got a couple of shows that I wouldn't mind throwing off you, see if you've seen them, and if you haven't, maybe I might be able to persuade you to watch them. So let's dive into X-Men first. X-Men 97, episode 7, featuring Captain America. What did you think?
I think I like the X-Men more than Captain America. So like as much as you're so excited for it, I'm like, I was more excited that there were a lot of things going on for everything else. The fact that they were actually showing the perspective of everything, of like the aftermath of Genosha, all the different X-Men that you could see there, or like all the different mutants that you could see within Genosha. The fact that Emma Frost gains her diamond hardened skin, which that's pretty accurate to the comics. Like an attack occurs in Genosha in the comics, and that's when I think the horrors, or like the trauma, causes her to basically gain a new mutation, or a dormant mutation, where she's able to harden her skin into diamonds.
That's sick, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it works out pretty well. Like it kind of really hits all the buttons for people who love the comics. I haven't followed the comics religiously, but I do know quite a bit of it. Not like, I can't preach it like the Bible, but I can at least
you know more than me.
I think maybe, I don't know.
No, you definitely do. I can guarantee you know more about me. You know more than me about X-Men for sure. Just from what we've talked about in the show so far, and I kind of hear you going a little deeper into the lore, and I know for a fact that you know more than me. So I'm happy to sit here and listen and learn some things too. So it's great. There was a part in the episode that I loved where I think it was Jean, where they were going through the wreckage, and Jean's like, I could sense a telepath, and I was like, oh shit, is this going to be Xavier coming back or something? And then it was the Emma Frost scene, but it was like I was like, oh shit, is this going to be Xavier? Because that would have been a really cool entrance for him if, like, he just kind of came down and appeared from the sky or whatever, like, and it would have been, I thought it would have been a great like moment for him to come back during like their salvage of the wreckage. I thought that would have been sweet. I did like the Captain America scene, but I thought it was a bit anticlimactic. At the same time, he was only in it for like 2 or 3 minutes, and I thought it was a cool scene. But each week, I think Rogue just becomes cooler and cooler. Like, she's just fucking epic. Like, and like you'll probably notice on the channel, I'm like always putting Rogue in the thumbnails, but that's just because I think she's my favorite character in the whole thing, which I'm kind of surprised about, because I thought it would have been like maybe someone like Cyclops, or I thought maybe, I'm kind of surprised how little Wolverine is featured in the show so far. Maybe he might get an episode or two kind of focused around him. I kind of think at the same time, though, it's kind of good that they're not focusing on him, because he's such a well-known character. They don't really need to go. Like, it's cool to have him there in the background in a few of the scenes, but like, you know, hyper focus on some characters that maybe a lot of the mainstream don't really know too well. I think it's a clever way of doing it. You know, we don't really need episodes and episodes on Wolverine when everybody knows who he is already, you know.
Well, yeah, they've really fleshed out all the characters. If you notice, each episode focuses on a certain character, gives them a little bit of screen time, gets you to know like what kind of attitude they have, and then kind of moves on to the next one. It's never overshadowing for any of the characters, which I think is awesome, because like that's the whole idea of X-Men, is that it's a collective. You really want to care about all of them. You really want to understand what each one is going through. The only one we don't necessarily know if like they're having an issue with anything in particular is Beast. Beast is pretty straightforward. Although like, I'm not sure if he still cares about the fact that he can never like change back into a human form, in that he's just in Beast form all the time. But like, you know, Jubilee being young and, you know, essentially getting like a boyfriend, like a pseudo boyfriend. It's not confirmed yet, but it seems like they're kind of together. You know, kind of showcasing all the different ages in the sense, like you know, Beast is a very much older character, and then you have like the mid tier characters, like or not tier, but mid-age characters, which are like Rogue and Gambit. Yeah, Morph. Then you have the ones that have been there for fucking ever, which is, you know, Jean, Cyclops, Wolverine's just been around a lot. And so like, if you watch the previous show, then you know like a lot of the lore behind it anyway. So I think that's probably why they aren't pushing too much on Wolverine. They pushed a lot more on him in the original show, because it really did matter. It was like sometimes he would just take off and go try to go find himself, and essentially like trying to find out who he is or what his purpose is in the sense. And always having a grudge against Sabretooth, which I think is kind of funny. Like, we haven't seen him yet. I don't remember too much if anything happened to Sabretooth in the original. But I mean, it's like, it's Wolverine. You really can't go wrong with him, as long as you don't make him do something that he doesn't usually do, which so far it's been like just amazing talks, like these dialogues that go on, the whole kiss between like Wolverine and Jean, like that was awesome, because it was like that moment of like, he understands what he wants, but he also understands what he shouldn't have. And like pushing it further, like what happened in Genosha, and having like all that trauma go on, and Scott is just losing his shit. Like, he's just like absolutely having trouble with all this that's going on, because he doesn't know what to do. Like, they've lost another leader essentially at the beginning of the show. Like they see that, you know, the Magneto's not around. Charles isn't around. I don't think he's going to be around until like a climactic turn, which I think would be the perfect time. Considering like, you really want them to be beaten down to their lowest, and then like have someone save the day essentially. And then that like brings up the hype, because then you're like, okay, so Charles is back. But if Charles were to come back now, it would essentially diminish a lot of the things that the other mutants are trying to do. And so I'm really happy that the two leaders, Magneto and Charles, are not available right now. You know, of course, you've seen at the end of the episode, Magneto's taken captive by Bastion. And like, we don't know what exactly is going to happen, but we know that like shit's about to go down. It's Operation Zero Tolerance, where, you know, it's just It's going to be awesome. Like it's doing its best to follow the comics.
Yeah, that was a serious run in the comics, right? Did you read
Yep.
it?
No, I didn't. But I know that it was basically like it's a fusion between Nimrod and Master Mold that created Bastion. And so like it created this character that basically like has amnesia or like lost his memory, and then he gets taken in by this woman named Rose, and basically he takes up her surname and goes on as Sebastian, I think Gambati or something like that. And like it's just this cool rendition of how like these two like this one futuristic mind and Master Mold just kind of like merge together, create this one being that wants to basically exterminate the mutants.
Yeah. It does sound sick. I was listening to, I don't know if you've heard of Comics Explained on YouTube. He's a big YouTube channel, like he's got millions of subscribers. He was on the Dead Nerds channel there maybe late last week, and they were talking about this as well. Like he was, again, obviously with a channel like Comics Explained, I think he's probably read everything, so I think he kind of saw what was unfolding straight away, obviously having such a key knowledge of the comics and stuff. So he was trying to explain this stuff, and again, I don't really know the characters, so it kind of all went over my head, but it sounds like it's what you've been talking about, so I think he was right. And from the sounds of it and how hyped they were when they were talking about it, it's going to be a pretty epic conclusion to the first season, so very much looking forward to it. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, and like, and not to put down, like, I'm not trying to put down Captain America's appearance. It's just, it
was nothing really. Like, to be fair, like, you know, I actually thought it was kind of well done for the fact that, you know, Rogue was kind of like, I thought you were on our side, and he's like, well, you know, if you're gonna turn into this, I suppose then, you know, I can't be on your side. Which I thought was like, there was some pretty deep lines in there from what they said, even though it was a very short conversation, but it was, I thought it was done very well, and kind of Rogue going off the beaten track after the Gambit funeral, like, and she's just kind of like, you, what's that? There's a great line in it where your mom was like, I thought you guys were the good guys, and she's like, no, you killed them, so now you get me. I was like, fuck yeah, that was such a great line.
Yeah, with Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah, that was so sick. Yeah, it was so good. So many great lines, so many great parts in that episode. It was
honestly, I was more excited to see Ross. Like I was like, oh shit, okay. So they pulled him in. Like she's basically going on a rampage. She's attacking in the military bases. She's trying to get answers. She goes up to Gyrick, saps all of his power to get his memories in. Finds out a lot more than she needed to, and like ends up clashing a little bit with Captain America, which, you know, I understand they're not going to have a full on fight because Captain America understands, like he's not like no, it's not even that. Captain America can beat Rogue. Like it just depends on the situation. Like but at the same time, it's like one of those things where it's Stanley said it time and time again. If we write in the comics that Captain America beats Rogue anytime, we'll write it in the comics. But if it's not written, we don't care.
Yeah.
They're characters.
Didn't he say something like, you know, if you're reading a Spider-Man comic, usually Spider-Man wins. So like when it's like, you know, say Captain America appears in a Spider-Man comic, it's usually Spider-Man who will win if they're going to fight. And then it's like, if Spider-Man was to appear in a Captain America comic, usually Cap would win because it's his comic, sort of thing. Like they kind of have that kind of rule set in place, because, you know, you can't really set up one power structure and then let that be the be all end all, because then you're going to create loopholes and problems down the line. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like we've seen it in the MCU as well. Like, you know what I mean? It's standard kind of comic content, in my opinion. Like, you know,
and like you're absolutely right. I mean, it like if it's written in, it's willed in. We already know, like, there are moments where people can fight others and win, even if they're against all odds. They did a comic of Squirrel Girl, and Squirrel Girl beat Doom, like Doom and Galactus. Like she beat the Avengers. Like it's just it's just written in the comics. Like, it's fun. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, that's a funny situation that would happen. But it's anyways, the whole situation with Captain America, I really like because of the fact that he understands old world tech, and going through OZT, and finding out what's actually going on. I think it's just it's a really interesting situation concerning the fact that like they're really mixing everything together. So we might see maybe a couple more Avengers along the way, which I'm hoping to see, like, maybe Spider-Man or um I don't know. Well, and we don't know if this world still has an Iron Man. If this world is like designed to be based on a different universe. I would assume so because Cap is still there. We have Ross. We don't have like Red Hulk or anything. We're not too far into it. It's 97, so like we could just assume that everyone's still alive.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, because I know the Spider-Man 94 cartoon is in the same universe, and I can't remember. I know I'm pretty sure during the Secret Wars event on that show, he brings Tony Stark when he's picking all of his heroes and stuff. I'm pretty sure he brings Tony Stark, and I know War Machine appeared on that show as well. So I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure the two of them are around and they are active. Yeah, I don't know. I think we might get those answers. I don't know if Spider Man's going to appear because I think if I'm right at the end of the show, he kind of goes off into the Spider Verse looking for Mary Jane, who goes missing, and that's kind of where the show ends. And it was one of the points I was going to bring up later in the kind of other news section, but I read today that some insider was saying that there's talks. I don't know, nothing official at all, but there's talks of a Spider-Man continuation, kind of like X-Men 97. There'll be like Spider-Man 98 or whatever, which will kind of go a bit deeper into that story. So maybe if they do that, so say they do Spider-Man 98 and then maybe another season of X-Men, maybe they could do more crossovers then or something after we kind of figure out where Peter is, how he gets back to this timeline or this world or whatever it's called.
I
Pretty
mean, why
sweet.
not do? Yeah,
Yeah,
why not do a revival? Like we like
I'd love it.
the strength of these characters and the strength of all the things that they do is with an animation and comics because like there's literally nothing you can't do in animations. Like you can literally do all these fantastic things. Like it's very, very hard to do all that live action. The CG is just crazy expensive. Any sort of AI technology that they're trying to use to like de-age people or create some sort of otherworldly type like features. It just seems like it's very far out and expensive, whereas like
Yeah.
with animation I'm sure it's very expensive, but with the way that they're developing this it's very much comic based. Like you could tell that the characters are drawn in the way similar to the show, but also it feels like it's from a comic. Like you look at the characters and it's like, man, I could totally see that in a cell.
Yeah.
I could see it in a panel. I could see how like this could be just drawn over and be a comic and just be shipped out.
Yeah.
So I again, like it's something that I've said multiple times before. I'm okay if we stop doing movies for a while, just kind of rebuild the society of like you know, animation and comics and just kind of like rebuild that feeling and then get back into the movies.
I kind of feel like they're doing that in a way this year. Like we only have one movie this year, and then we're having stuff like X-Men 97 and stuff like that, where it's kind of building up the love for the content again. There's not too many shows, and the shows that we're
Right.
hearing about are like ones that we want as well. So I kind of feel like we're not getting a lot of content, but we're getting a lot of hype and a lot of build up. And I think maybe next year is going to be a good year for the MCU. I really hope it is because it's been some dark days since Endgame, and there have been some shining light in there. There's definitely movies in Phase 4 and 5 that I've enjoyed, but as a whole, as an entirety, as an experience, it hasn't been great. And I think we can all agree. Like I don't think there's anybody going to be too arguing that fact too much. You're muted there, sorry, bro.
I have absolutely no idea why it decides to mute out of nowhere, but for some reason, like it just goes. I'm just gonna mute you.
Yeah,
Just gonna straight up mute you. It's so
yeah.
fucking weird.
Let's spice this podcast up a bit.
Yeah. Um,
Throw in some
I,
technical difficulties.
I don't know what their idea was in terms of creating all these different characters in live action and not trying to link things together, or at least, like, to be completely honest, like I'm all for an origin story,
Mhm.
but if you were to throw me into the fray and just have me Moon Knight just exists.
Yeah,
Where is he? He's handling the Midnight Mission. He's over in New York, or he's near where Spider-Man or Daredevil will be, or even Blade. So then he's kind of aware that those characters exist. He has already been here before. We have a movie where it's like, or not even a movie, but we have the series where, he's dealing with stuff with the Midnight Mission. And then, like, halfway through, or even a couple episodes in, we get the origin story.
yeah.
You know,
I agree. I agree, and I even would go as far as doing something like in the middle of an already existing project, Moon Knight pops in,
yeah,
and he does a couple of missions or whatever, or he's in half a movie or something like that. And if at the end of the movie, people are like, "Who the fuck was that guy?" We want more of that. If it's really accepted, then maybe they push forward with a show then, and then tell the origin story when the community want it. You know what I mean? Rather than kind of maybe forcing it on people. I didn't mind Moon Knight. Moon Knight's not one of the projects that I really had a problem with at all, but there was definitely a couple of them that didn't really need to be made. Like Miss Marvel, for example. I think she would have been okay as being just someone to show up in the movies, and you could have told her backstory in a half an hour, and then we're in a movie already. It's cool. Like the Marvels like would have been a perfect place to just have the first half an hour of the Marvels movie just be introducing Miss Marvel, and I think I would have been like, yeah, cool, let's go. Continue with the movie now. I don't think
right.
she needed I don't think she needed a 6-part series, which just continuously got worse as the series went on. Like it just didn't seem like we needed it. I thought maybe as well Echo, while the show was okay and it did a few bits for like Kingpin and stuff like that, we didn't need the show. She had a good little intro in the Hawkeye show, and if she was to show up not again until Daredevil season 1 or whatever it is, season 5, happy days. You know what I mean? Like, here she is again. It's cool. She's the main villain. She's connected to Kingpin. This makes all sense. This all makes sense. I don't think she needed a show. I think, like, I really think that they had massive success with the likes of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think that kind of maybe gave them that false sense of security that they could just do anything and it would just be a hit. It's
Right.
like we just released a franchise with a bunch of characters that nobody's ever heard of, and everybody loves every single one of them. This is amazing. Let's do everything now. And it's like, well, hang on a second. I think, and I think they have realized that, okay, people aren't just jumping on anything that we put out, so we need to be a little more careful about it. And I think Bob Iger, the Disney head, has said that officially. He said, we are stripping back. We're going to focus on the big hitters, I think he said, or like the A-listers, the main focus characters of the MCU, and that's what we're going to push forward with. That's what we're going to hyper focus on and get people back into the groove of things. And I think if they could do that, if they could maybe, I don't think they'll ever replicate the Infinity Saga again. They might get close. I think if Secret Wars goes off the way that they hope it will, and if it's going to be as epic as they say, you might get a lot of the hype back, but I don't think you'll get the full thing. But
Mhm.
then I think maybe, after that, you maybe do like a little bit of a, I don't know, so like not really a reboot, but we have to kick off a new universe or whatever, and we start to the building blocks of the next kind of universe. Then maybe start going a bit crazy, bring in Fantastic Four, let them integrate into this new world, and so on, and build from there.
Yeah, I can agree with the majority of what you said. The one thing that concerns me is like a lot of the shows that they tried to create under different character names, such as Miss Marvel, they had the right idea. They just didn't have the proper execution. Like the story just didn't go anywhere. It really didn't give us anything to care about other than maybe the family here and there. And because like that's what happens in Marvel. A lot of the times it's like, hey, I'm a superhero now, and now but I also have a family, and the family misses me, or the family wonders where I am all the time because I can't tell them who I am. It's also like disappointing when you take this character that's like pretty much a beloved character. Like Miss Marvel was a really hyped character to bring in, and they decide to change the character's design completely in terms of their abilities. You know, having a band that essentially gives them the power that they originally had is a cop out. Like it's a huge fucking like detrimental like situation for that character, because once they lose the band, they've got nothing else.
True.
And I don't give a shit how much they were like, oh, you had a mutation. Like they didn't go upon that like in the movie for the Marvels. They didn't talk about that at all. They didn't give any perspective on like whether or not that was even getting worse, if she was having any sort of like additional abilities from that. They just were using that as a means to kind of like give the hint that mutants were coming soon.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just such a fucking like horrible situation for the story itself. Like it had no meaning, had nothing. And I think that's what really like upset me the most. That and the fucking chase scene at the like the last episode was a fucking like a good good section of chases in a school, which like they might as well played that one song like "We're the Kids in America," woo, like fucking bullshit. Like it's just such like I like she's not a like she's kind of she's a teenager.
Yeah,
like you to fucking like she's growing into an adult. Like let her be like a strong character. Let her be like her actual person, and just like go with it. Like I don't understand these writers nowadays. Like it, and I know we do this all the time. We constantly go into this loop, but it's like it's a serious situation, man. Like just let these characters have the same resources as they did in the comics. I guarantee you're gonna have gold.
yeah. I don't know, bro. Like that show, like it went like episode 1 was. I was like, I like the direction of it. I like the art. I like the the whole perspective of it. It was really nice. But then by the end of it, I felt like I was watching Nickelodeon or something. Like it went so childish. Like I was like, oh god. I was like, I really felt my age. I was like, this is not for me at all. And that's kind of why, yeah, I'll never watch it again. I probably won't watch the Marvels again either. Quantumania, I won't watch again. Like, there's a lot of stuff there that if I was doing an MCU rewatch, I'd probably skip them, which is rough because I love kind of piling it all on and just watching it all together. Like, it's just such a great experience. But and I'm saying this a lot, but I've got kids now, and I'm thinking like my daughter's going to be like at one stage, like, it's like, oh, what happened? What happened, Dad? Why are the movies so shit now? Like after Endgame, like, like why is there so much inconsistency? Like, it's just, and I don't know how you explain it to them,
Well, then you ask her, why are you using that language in front of me?
I know she's cool. She's cool.
Just kidding. I'm kidding.
When it comes to anger with the MCU, I'll allow it.
Why is it shit?
Yeah. It's shit because Disney got too involved. But yeah, I don't know, bro. Like it's. I really hope. I really think that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I think we're gonna get it back. I think it's coming full circle. I really do. I really do think that. Just without going into like leaks and spoilers and stuff like that. Like, but some of the stuff that I've heard that's coming down the line is very good. I think it's definitely them finally kind of listening and going, okay, yeah, look, we need to kind of bring the fan service back. We need to bring the connective tissue back. We need to go full ham on this, and really, really, really go all in. Like like I don't think it's a coincidence that Robert Downey Jr. only said like 2 weeks ago in an interview, like, oh, I would easily and happily come back and play Iron Man again after winning an Oscar. Like he said that in an interview. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think that's like stuff like that. I think is coming. Like the Nomad project. I think Scarlett Johansson's officially come out and said she's working on a project now, not to act, but like she's producing something in the MCU, which
Mhm.
I'm gonna gather if she's gonna produce something, she's probably gonna pop her head in somewhere in some shape or form. Um, whether it's a live action version of that other version of Widow from What If or something like that. Like, like they could really do anything. Like, but yeah, like I've got very high hopes. Daredevil's going to be a big one, I think, and I don't know how I feel about Fantastic Four. I really need to see some footage or something. I need to see them all in the suits. I need to see what it looks like. I need to see how it feels. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Deadpool 3 though is like, I don't know. How did you feel like, just to kind of jump into the Deadpool, because it is on my list of things to talk about. I suppose this is a perfect time to talk about it. But the Deadpool 3 trailer, like, did you? I know you enjoyed the first trailer, I think, as much as I did. So I thought, like, I don't know people that didn't enjoy that first trailer. I thought I think it was very well. It was like a sigh of relief, nearly, to kind of be like, okay, this still feels like Deadpool. What did you think after the new trailer? Did it double you down, or were you kind of apprehensive a bit? Like, how are you feeling after watching that second trailer?
I mean, to be completely honest, dude, I've always been apprehensive of it. Like it's reached a point where I'm worried that although it's technically like still within the realm of Fox, it's Disney that's taken over this project now. And it's, as much as I see the fun in it, I'm really hoping that it like can stick the landing. But I'm just kind of worried because, like, I know they made the joke like about the whole like drug situation.
Thought that was hilarious.
Like, yeah,
Hilarious.
that was a hilarious bit. It's just like how much of Disney actually is involved with this project. And I know that, like, for the most part, you've told me before that they've given them free reign. They're going to let them do whatever they want. It's like, but it will reach a point. Like, I'm pretty sure it reached a point within production that maybe there was a couple things that they had to pull back. So we'll see how much craziness will actually be within the movie itself. If it's not crazier or as crazy as Deadpool 2, then we could see that there's going to be a decline in the future. It's going to really show like how much power Disney has over these movies in the final say.
Yeah. I feel a bit better after watching the second trailer, or like the official trailer, whatever they want to call it, because you know I think I got confirmation that, like, there's dick jokes, there's fucking drug jokes, there's a lot of like gore and violence in it, which is something that I was obviously very scared about when I heard that the MCU and Disney were going to be making this, because it's like, are we going to be seeing blood flying and heads coming off and limbs falling off? And we pretty much see TVA agents getting absolutely demolished in this trailer. And like, we see Wade and Logan fighting, and it's pretty severe. Like, Deadpool's like putting his guns into his like rib cage and like letting the clips out, and you can just see like it looks pretty fucking graphic, like, so I'm in all those instances, I'm like really happy about it. The fact that they've like got like a dead Ant-Man in the trailer, you can see his skull through the suit and stuff, and like his body's just going to be lying there like a skeleton of him that's turned into a base and all. It's kind of like, I kind of feel like there isn't really many holds barred, and I think it's clever that they make a reference back to the first movie with the blind lady who's like a big coke fiend, and it's like, I don't even think in the original movie you ever saw them actually do any coke anyway. You know what I mean? It's not as if like they were doing mountains of coke in the first one, and now it's like they can't do it, but they can kind of make a joke about it. I just think it's
Mhm.
kind of clever how they're not going to do it. I don't think they ever have done it, but they're still not going to do it. But at least they could do a fourth wall break, and it's like, well, Feige, said that's the only thing we can't do. And I think that's just a really kind of clever way around referencing it, but maybe just saying like, let's not go there. I think
I mean,
it's well done.
yeah, of course. I mean, like, unless you're making a Scarface type movie, you don't really need to show it.
I'd
It's
love to see it. It'd be hilarious, but I fully understand that they're not going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, the only way I would say the only way around it is to actually make fun of it in terms of like, I don't know if you ever seen the movie Corky Romano.
No,
Um,
never.
it's I think it starts Chris Kattan. Essentially like like a drug sniffing dog sees that like Corky has a like a brick of cocaine in his hand, and he grabs it with his mouth, and then he's like, come on, give me the cocaine. It's really funny shit. As soon as it
Is it
breaks
live
open, it
action?
hits them both. Yeah, it hits them both in the face, like full of it, and like they're just going nuts. It's a real like I like that movie. I thought it was very quirky. It's just like it's one of those moments. It's like, okay, well, if the drugs happen to hit him in the face and they like ingest it somehow, then I would say that's like a good workaround. But if you're like deliberately letting them do it, like
Yeah,
that's a bit too far.
yeah.
That's only for the fact that like kids will absolutely still be watching this with their parents regardless because it's Marvel. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's rated R. Like I've seen rated R movies in the past, like because my parents were watching it, and they like
100%.
essentially, yeah, like it's just, or my cousins were watching something, and like I got to watch it. Um, it's
Yeah,
it was just one of those. It's just one of those things where like as long as they're not deliberately doing it, I think
yeah,
it's fine if they get hit by it or something. Um, but yeah, like when I looked at the design between Brian Reynolds as Wade Wilson and Hugh Jackman as like Logan, and this whole situation where Ryan Reynolds is so committed to the character that he's willing to wear the costume like the majority of the time. Like
yeah,
we've seen it a lot in the first and second movies, which is very much like a positive. A lot of fans are very happy about that because of the fact that like when you watch the animated series for anything that has a Deadpool in it, when you look at the comics, a lot of the times he's not really taking off his mask. Like he's really just wearing the mask like almost 24/7. And it's not because he thinks he looks ugly or anything. It's just because like it's just
I think I think that has a part to play though. Like I
it's
think it's part of the character. Well, definitely at the beginning, like he thinks he's a monster, like so he'll always wear the suit because until he can get fixed. And I think even by is it the second one where I can't remember. I think it's sorry, it's the first one again, but it's he's like afraid to show himself to Vanessa, like because he's like a freak or whatever. And I think it's him trying to battle that and overcome that. But obviously, by this movie, in the beginning of the movie, like he's a car salesman and he's wearing the wig and he's got like the Hawaiian shirt on and he's kind of poking fun at himself. So I'd say he probably comes out of his shell a bit. But I think like the Deadpool hero is the suit. Like I think he is
yeah.
like the suit. Whereas, almost everybody else, they're always out of the suit. Whereas Deadpool's one that's always in the suit. Always.
Well, and what like that's what upsets me a little bit is the fact that like everybody else doesn't want to play ball.
Yeah.
Like when you think about it, like Ant-Man, Wolverine has his fucking helmet on most of the time. The only time he doesn't have it on is when he's just in his regular like vest and like slacks kind of situation. Like
Mhm.
he's just or jeans. Like it's a very like there's difference. You got Logan and then you got Wolverine. You got Wade and then you got Deadpool. And that's all I'm trying to get by. It's the fact that like Hugh Jackman is probably not going to be wearing that helmet at all. Maybe he might wear it for a second, but he's taking that shit off. And I don't know if
Yeah.
it's because it's a direction that they wanted to go with, or that's something that he just absolutely refuses to put on.
Yeah.
Um,
I know they
I,
played with the idea of it during the Wolverine movie. There was an after credit scene where he gets given the suit at the end of the movie, and like they kind of make a joke about it. But I know originally when they did the first three X movies, someone had said to them like, is he ever going to wear the cowl? Are they going to get the yellow suits? And they back then in like the year 2000, it was like, no, it wouldn't translate well. I don't think it would work well on the big screen. And now we see, and I think the times have changed, technology's changed, all that sort of thing. But like everything is upgraded at this stage, but it works now. But I think they probably were right to change it up back then. I think because like even I don't know how you feel about this, but like even if you go back and watch the first Spider, like the first Toby movie, like his suit doesn't look great. Like it's cool, but it feels aged. Like now in 2024, if you're to watch that movie, it kind of feels old and a bit goofy or something, you know. Whereas
That's a costume, dude. What are you
I
talking
know,
about?
but it
Costumes are
feels it.
weird. Costumes are
I know,
fucking weird. But
I
we
know,
want you to wear it.
I know,
I
I
don't
know.
care how much you tell me it's weird. It looks silly. It might even be a little bit creepy. I don't care. I read the comics because I want to look at the hero.
I know, but if you were to look at like how like some of the costumes looked in some of the older like DC stuff and some of the older even Marvel stuff, it just looked so bad. And I think they were trying to market it and make it cool. And if you think about like the year 2000, you've got like stuff like The Matrix. It was all leather. It was all cool and all this stuff. So I could see why they went the direction they did. And I never had a problem with it growing up. Never.
I
Never. Never.
do. I do. And you know why? Because exactly what you just said a moment ago. Guess who's the one character besides Wade Wilson who also puts on the suit and doesn't necessarily take it off unless absolutely fucking necessary?
You want me to guess?
Yes.
Spider-Man?
I'm talking DC, bro.
DC.
Who have we seen time
Batman,
and time? Yes. We have seen him time and time again in every single movie. Every single movie. He does not take that fucking thing off unless it's ripped off its face or he's home.
Yeah.
He does not take that shit off. And you know what? We love it.
Yeah.
Like, I have never heard anybody be like, man, I wish he would take off the fucking mask. Like, no, that's Batman, dude. Like, that's who Batman is. Joker, it's like, man, I wish he would take off that fucking clown makeup. Like, I'm so fucking... No, that's fucking Joker. Do not fuck with these characters' faces. Do not fuck with their cowls. Do not fuck with their helmets. Leave them the fuck on. I'm tired of that shit. Leave it on, bro. The fucking mask stays on in bed. All right.
I don't know. I know what you're saying, and I don't know if it's done intentionally.
It is because they want the screen time. They want their faces to be seen. They wanted to. Oh, that's Toby. That's 100% Toby. We know what Christian Bale looks like, and he still wears the fucking thing like 50% of the. I would say even 70% of the time. The only time he ever had it off was when he was at the banquet, when he was at home. When he had to be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So why? So what's the excuse here?
I suppose, like for Logan, for example, like Logan is a nobody, so I suppose it doesn't really matter if he wears a mask or not because nobody really knows who he is, you know. Whereas
what are you talking about?
Like, as in, like if he's out in public, right? If Logan goes to a bar,
right?
You know, nobody's going to be like, holy shit, it's Wolverine, he's at the bar there. Whereas like if Bruce Wayne goes out, everybody knows who Bruce Wayne is, right? If Bruce Wayne was, so that's why he can never take the mask off because everybody knows who he is. Whereas nobody knows who Logan is. So he could walk around in his streetwear and even take the claws out and fuck somebody up if he really wanted to, because most people would be like, oh wait, that guy has claws. Is he Wolverine or something? Like nobody knows. Whereas everybody knows who Bruce Wayne is. So if Batman was ever seen without the mask on, people are like, oh my god, Bruce Wayne is Batman. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
That makes sense.
I get what you're saying, but that still doesn't really like fix the situation. Logan does that because he's Logan. But he puts the costume on because he's an X-Men. So if he's putting the costume on and not the cowl, he's saying fuck the X-Men. In my opinion, he's saying like in a halfway situation, fuck you halfway X-Men. It's just it's fucking Hugh Jackman time. I love Hugh Jackman, but I just want to put on the fucking cowl, please. Like do it for half the movie and like I'll leave you alone. Do it for one movie, half the movie, I'll leave you alone.
I think what's going to happen in this movie is we're going to see a variant of Wolverine that wears the cowl. And he'll probably die straight away. That'll be the only cowl in the whole movie. I genuinely think that's going to happen. I think the Wolverine that we're going to follow for most of this movie, and the one that goes to the 616, the main Wolverine, is not the Wolverine from X-Men like that we've seen so far. It's not Logan. that died at the end of the Logan movie, because he's being left alone. This is a completely different Wolverine. And I think that the only way that you're going to see a Kel Wolverine is the Wolverine who plays X-Men, but he's going to be from a different timeline or a different universe. And I'd say he's going to die pretty quickly. And it'll just be like a kind of nod to the Kel. There you go, guys. There's your full blown suit. But this version of him, he doesn't give a fuck. He's not wearing it because he killed all the X-Men or whatever the story's going to be, like, you know, and he just doesn't give a shit. He's just himself. He's not the Wolverine.
I could see what you're saying, and I'm reaching that point of I don't care as well, but at the same time, if you're gonna have this situation where there's multiple versions of Wolverine, you can at least give one that's like wearing the fucking suit with the cowl. And I know that you just said, I know you, yes, I know. I think you're gonna. I think you're telling me that basically they're gonna destroy that Wolverine because they really want to say fuck you to cowls and helmets and face masks and whatnot.
But I don't think that's the reason, but I think that's what you're gonna take away.
It's 100%. No, you can't tell me otherwise. Why would they do that otherwise?
I don't know.
Because they want to send a message. Fuck you, fans. We're getting rid of the cowl. It's stupid looking. We don't care. Funny. But you know what? Like, even when in WandaVision we saw Scarlet Witch, the actual old school costume, yeah, that looks dumb. But at least it was a nice gag to it. I understand if she's going to wear something different, if she's just got like almost kind of the trench coat style, it's like very leathery kind of look. That's fine. That's her. That's, you know, she doesn't necessarily need to wear a cowl because her face is kind of there. She has like the weird ass looking helmet thing. I don't need that. But when you got a thing that kind of goes over your head and covers your eyes and makes you look like you've like you're whited out on the eyes, and it makes you look kind of scarier in the sense, like even more menacing, fucking put it on. That's why Spider-Man has that fucking cowl on, is because it makes him look more menacing as a spider, so that like he essentially causes the thugs to either stop, or they see that like if it doesn't stop them, then he's gonna have to punch him. But like that's the whole point. Batman wears the suit to scare the thugs of Gotham, because if he can stop them there, then he's already doing his job. He can subdue them. He doesn't have to hurt them. But guess what? They still think that they can go up against him. But it's just the fun of it, bro. I just want that fun little campy kind of thing. I don't need 66 Batman with fucking Adam West, like with the fucking like you saw the stitchings. You saw the stitchings on it.
I love Adam West, bro. R.I.P. to an absolute legend. I love that show. I used to watch that show every week with my dad. We like it would, the TV would come on and I'd hear it. I come running down the stairs, bro. Used to love that shit. Yeah. Oh, bro, that was so good.
Dude, I like, but to be honest, like I really like that stuff too. I just think like in the modern sense, if you're trying to like make it a little bit more modern, at least kind of make it look cool. Like the Batman suit with Christian Bale looked fucking cool. The Batman suit with Robert Pattinson, that looked pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, and I love that they did the makeup too, like so that it, you know, kind of really shades in on the eyes and everything. Like they did a really good job. Adam West is just campy, and I fucking love that. I love that they showed that like it was so like it's almost like a poorly made hat that like you can even see the stitchings on the cowl, which I thought was really cool. Do you remember like Batman the Brave and the Bold?
Yeah.
Like that was kind of a similar cowl. It was a very small with like tiny bat ears.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was cool. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Do you want to dip into a couple of other little topics before we get off? I think there's not really a lot left to talk about, but
yeah, shoot, buddy.
Do you have anything you want to talk about? Like any news from the week or anything?
Nothing in particular. Just for anime news, we're going to be getting My Hero Academia season 7 in May. We're also going to get Demon Slayer, the Hashira training arc in May as well. I think they're dropping within the same week, if not 1 week between each other. Okay, so if you haven't watched My Hero Academia, I highly recommend it. It's actually gotten quite long now. It's almost reaching, I think, 200 episodes, but I think it's really good. For the people that are like diehard fans of it, they're a little cringe, but I mean, the show itself, I recommend it. I'm not gonna
The
badger you
fans
about
are
it.
the fans are cringe, or
The fans can be a bit cringe.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're not selling this for me, bro.
No, no, well, like even the Demon Slayer fans are cringe.
I've no I to be honest, right? I like that show a lot, but I genuinely have no kind of interaction with the fan base whatsoever. I don't look up anything about it. I don't get pushed anything on socials about the show either. It's kind of weird. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't see anything of it.
So
I
then I
talk to
think
you about it, and that's it.
all right. Then I think you'll be fine for My Hero Academia. I honestly, I like if I had to choose between having you watch an anime that you actually will watch if I recommend it, it's Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah,
It's like
I've heard that's the
we're
one.
yeah, we're like I think 48 like to 50 episodes in. Like it's not that far. You can
Yeah.
roll through it. Like at least watch the first season, and if you don't like it, then you probably like I don't know what you're probably not gonna like the second season. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
So but I think it's up your alley because of the way that they design the characters. Nobody in
Sure.
that show is like a weakling or lame or annoying. They're all very fucking well done. It's very diverse in the sense that like both men and women characters are fucking badass. Like I love Maki, I love Nobara. I can't remember. I think it's May or Mai. I think Mai is the other lady. But like literally, there's a few female characters in there that are also like very cool. A lot of it is based around UT like Itadori Yuji, which is of course he's the main character. You have like Gojo, which is like his teacher. You have all these different references. Dude, they reference like a whole bunch of dude, how fucking funny was it that like to teach Yuji how to be better about controlling his like curse energy is by watching movies. And the fact that one of the movies that he watches when Gojo comes back is that scene in the Lord of the Rings part one, like with the Fellowship, where we're on the boat, and he's like, "I'll never leave you," and he's like, "Sam," it's like that's that scene. It's so
That's
good.
hilarious.
It's so fucking good.
That's cool, dude. Yeah, I think you're not the only one to recommend Jujutsu Kaisen. So I think I might watch it. Is there a dub for it, or is it sub
Yes,
only? There is a
yes,
dub.
it should be dubbed.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like I need the dubs, bro, because especially with anime. I watched Shogun on Disney. I think it's on Hulu for you guys over there, but it's on Disney Plus here. Um, but that's basically like a live action anime. I'm very surprised you haven't seen it, to be honest, because like it was the talk of the town for like the last 10 weeks. It's been fucking
Really?
incredible, bro.
Dude,
Incredible.
all I've been hearing is Fallout, like nonstop on my end. Fallout,
Fallout.
Fallout, Fallout. I'm
Yeah.
getting nothing but Fallout. I haven't heard a
Fallout has
lick of
been
Shogun.
Shogun's been on like it was weekly, so it only just finished this week. So I think it was coming out every Wednesday for us in EU, and I think you guys got it on Tuesdays. But it was mind blowing, bro. Like I wanted to let a good bit of it build up first, and then just kind of binge maybe 3 or 4 episodes and see, kind of give it a good go and give it a good feel. But me and my girlfriend like watched the first episode and we sat there and just was like, "This is incredible." Like incredible, even after episode one. And it's done. It's a one and done limited series, 10 episodes. So good. Jesus, like incredible. But a lot of it is subbed in Japanese, obviously. So I was kind of sitting there going, "Oh, Alex would be so proud of me now. I'm just sitting here listening to Japanese and reading
Being
subtitles."
forced to
Yeah,
listen.
yeah. And again, I don't mind it as much in live action because there's not as much going on. You know what I mean? I find that if you're sitting there watching an anime, like for me personally, I want to be looking at the art. I want to be analyzing the scenes, like watching everything unfold around you. And there's always like so much more action in an anime than there is in a live action. If that makes sense, because like I found a lot of the time when the people were just sitting around, kind of talking in Japanese. There's not a lot happening around the scene, so like you don't really need to be kind of hyper focused, like analyzing everything around you. You're kind of just
Mhm.
sitting there chilling, like listening to people talking and kind of watching characters grow. But yeah, I cannot recommend the show enough, bro. It's it's amazing. Like I'd give it a 9 out of 10, all said and done. I won't talk to you about the finale or anything. Maybe we can have a full discussion about it after you watch it. But you and the missus sit down and watch it at some point. It's going to be 10 hours well worth it. I think it's probably less than 10 hours actually, but it's definitely worth it. Big recommend for me. And another one which I'm very surprised about, which is another big recommend for me this week, is Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Amazon with Donald Glover. It is actually, I know, I'm shocked, right? I can't remember whose stream I was in. Might have been Ninjas or something. And he mentioned something about Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and he's like, it's fantastic. And I was like, I was on the fence about watching it. I love Donald Glover, but I watched his show Atlanta, and it got crazy. It got really wild. And Donald Glover in this show, he has like producer and creator credits and stuff like that. So I'm like, is this going to be another Atlanta? Is it going to be kind of out there, you know? And I was like, I'm giving it a go. Fuck it. Like, you know, I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I think it's sitting on something like a 7.2 on IMDb. Not a crazy good rating, but I was like, it's worth it.
That's still pretty good.
It is pretty good. I think for like amazing TV, really, you notice it being like kind of 8 and higher. Definitely, you know, like, you know, obviously all the greats are in the 9s, but you know, there's high 8s for TV shows that are just like mind blowing stuff, you know.
Mhm.
So I was like, it's a 7. I was like, fuck it, we'll watch the first episode. I'll give it a go. And I was watching it in work, and like while I was on my lunch break, I just sit and watch an episode of it and then go back to work. And I watched the first episode, and I was like, the first 5 or 10 minutes, I was like, I paused it, and I was like, will I turn this off? Because it had such a great opening. And I was like, will I watch this on the big screen at home? I was like, because it looked really good, and like it was action packed and stuff. And I was like, oh, am I kind of wasting this sitting on a laptop screen or like on a computer screen watching it? And I was like, fuck it, I've nothing else to watch right now. Let's watch the first episode. Watched the first episode, loved it. Went home, watched the second one. I was like, yeah, this is a really good show. And it steadily got better and better each week, or each like episode that aired. And yeah, man, I because I started watching it alone. I said to my missus, I was like, do you want to watch this with me and see if you like it? So I'm actually rewatching it already. And I only finished it, and I'm on a second rewatch with her. So that might tell you what you need to know, whether it's worth it or not. But it's just fun. It's action packed. It's like a kind of spy kind of thriller TV show. There was a movie that came out with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, same name. But I think it's a different telling of that story, because as far as I know, I haven't seen the movie, but as far as I know, the movie is based around the two characters being like secret agents and spies, but they don't know that the other one is. You know what I mean? So they're both kind of in a relationship, but they don't know that their partner is a spy. Whereas the TV show is quite different. There's like a secret organization, secret company, like division of the FBI or CIA or whatever the fuck it is. They themselves don't even know who they're working for, but the company, as they call them, put the couples together, the Mr. and Mrs. Smiths together, and then they start living together, and that they're thrown out on missions and stuff like that. But they're unknown people that get matched together and put into a house. So Donald Glover's character and the other lady who plays the wife, Jane, are both kind of put together. And then it's kind of them getting used to living together, starting to go out on missions and stuff like that. And they kind of grow to actually really like each other and so on. And it's just fucking brilliant, man. It's really, really good. I cannot recommend it enough. Amazon sponsored stream. But yeah, no, man, it's really good. Like I think Amazon has been absolutely smashing it lately. Fallout has been talk of the planet right now. Everybody's talking about Fallout. Fallout 4 is like the number 1 selling game on Steam in EU at the moment. Like it's crazy. Like everyone's going Fallout mad. And I only said it in my Discord server the other. Yeah, I've only said it in my Discord server the other day. I was like, if they aren't working on a game, they're going to be fucking scrambling to get a game going now, because they need, like, if they could release a new game with like current gen graphics, it would be the number 1 game in the world, like guaranteed. And then I saw an article, I think today, that Fallout 5 they're looking to get it rolling, but I think they're looking to do it outside of Bethesda games, which is weird.
Well, I mean,
has there been with them since the beginning?
No, absolutely not. That franchise, I believe, was taken up by Obsidian Entertainment, I believe, is the original creators. Interplay, I think, was also involved with them. And so like when Bethesda took over, they essentially put their moniker on that, and that started during Fallout 3. Fallout 1 and 2 were Interplay and Obsidian, from what I remember. And so like when you see Fallout 3, it's all like, it's not vastly different, but it's very, very different from what we originally had in Fallout 1 and 2. I've actually never played Fallout 1 and 2 before. I'm actually going through a playthrough on my own right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and like it's actually incredibly fun for a top down. Like it's very like it's time consuming here and there because you're still trying to figure out like what you're doing. But once you get the hang of it, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty fun. It feels like a Fallout game. Very much RP aspects to it. You know, like you can't. You actually have to like use abilities like in your skills decks to get things rolling. But yeah, like when Fallout 3 came out, that was a Bethesda project. So they worked on that. They had like the resources from, you know, the previous developers of Fallout 1 and 2. So they had an understanding of like what they could put within the world. And they pretty much kind of formed it the way that they wanted to form it. 3 was great. And then when they came out with New Vegas, they essentially went back to Obsidian and they were like, hey, how would you like to make like collab together and make another game? And they were like, yeah. So they'd made New Vegas, which felt so much like Fallout 1 and 2.
Right.
Because it brought back traits. It made it so that I think every other level you would get a perk. Whereas in the game right now for Fallout 1, every 3 levels you get a perk. You have like all these different wacky things that can occur. They have references to things like they have aliens as usual, which is really fun. Then they came out with all this big DLC stuff. It's very fun. Like New Vegas is still one of my tops. 76 is like their most recent in terms of the games, but it's actually set before Fallout, I believe before Fallout 1. Because it's like kind of during the time where they're trying to rebuild society within the Appalachian Trail, which I think is that's a really fun concept. It's just, it was executed poorly because they threw it in there with like tons and tons of bugs. They had no like sense of like, it had no atmosphere. Nothing was like, everything felt dead because there were no humans in the environment. All they had were like protectrons, like robots. They had like mutants and whatnot. So they're finally getting their shit together essentially and like fixing everything that they fucked up. So 76 is actually a fun game now. Like there's a lot of stuff to do. Fallout 4 has been really popular now because of the show, because that's kind of the most recent single player experience that you can have. And I don't doubt for a second that they're working on Fallout 5 because they really should have another single player like continuation of the story. But if they're working on the second season of Fallout, the show, yes, then like they're probably trying to tread waters and see and decide on where they actually want to put the next Fallout character within the gameplay. Which I highly think that we're not done with the eastern or western coasts, but I think we should try to get into the Midwest. We should try to really get into like the central area of the United States. I really want to see if like what vaults are there.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't really touched any of that. In Fallout 1 and 2, it's all California and I think a little bit of Nevada. New Vegas is California and Nevada. Fallout 3 and 4 are on the Capital Wastelands and the Commonwealth, which is like Boston and DC. And so like, why not go in the middle? So I'm hoping that they do that for the gameplay, but for the show, like I'm excited for them to see like to kind of showcase what happened in New Vegas. Cause from what it looks like, from what they've showcased and from what it seems to be is that New Vegas is dead.
Right.
But it might not be. It could just be that that's what they wanted to kind of showcase that so that you don't get the idea that like, oh, it's still thriving or, you know, cause there was a lot of like sand and wind blowing around. So like it could have easily just been the way it looked.
Yeah.
So
like that was my takeaway is that it was
Yeah.
still active, but just kind of in the middle of nowhere. Because
Right.
otherwise, what was the reason why the Hank went there? You know, I presume he knows that it's active.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is how Vegas is. Vegas is kind of like in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, like man, the Fallout vibe has been crazy. Like it's been crazy to see, and I know there was a bit of a I can't remember who said it. Someone, I think, one of the Netflix showrunners kind of made some comments about the show, and we're just kind of like, it's absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion, that they released that show all at once. And I understand where they're coming from in a sense, where it's like, it's for a bit, it's been like the biggest show in the world, right?
Hmm.
But due to the fact that they released it all at once, the kind of the spark will kind of die down a lot quicker, rather than how many episodes were in season one? Was it 8 or 10? Or I
8.
can't even remember. 8, yeah. So like if they had done it episodically weekly, they could have had for 8 weeks, it would have been like the biggest thing in the world, and every week it would have got bigger and bigger and bigger. I understand that kind of sentiment and like understanding of like where the Netflix heads are coming from. But at the same time, there's so many people out there that just want to binge the content, and having it all there, I think, enhances the viewing experience. So there's definitely pluses and minuses for this, and I think I've had this conversation with you before. But
Hmm.
if you release a season all at once, and the proof is in the pudding here, because Disney Plus, for example, always release weekly, right? And we sit down here and we talk about all these shows as they come out every single week. And in the past, it's been, boring episodes here and there of, Falcon and the Winter Soldier or whatever, um, WandaVision or whatever, any of these shows. There's always been
Hmm.
kind of ups and downs. Whereas when you sit back and actually watch those shows in a binge, like Hawkeye, for example, Hawkeye's become a show that I watch around Christmas time, and I can do it in 2 sittings. Like, I do like the first 4 episodes all one after another, or even first 5 episodes. And then, I might watch the finale at a different stage or whatever. But and it flows really well, and it's a really good show when you watch it as like a single thing. But
Hmm.
when it was episodic and weekly, it was kind of hard to watch sometimes, because some of the episodes are a bit slower than others. But if you mash up like 1, 2, and 3 all at the same time, it just flows really well. It just works. Whereas if it's like you're watching 35 minutes of episode 1, and then you're like, okay, yeah, that wasn't too bad. And then episode 2 comes on, and it's like all the LARPing and stuff, and you're kind of like, what the fuck is this? And then episode 3 comes on, and you're like, okay, it's getting better again. Like, it's 3 weeks you're in. That's fucking 21 days. You're sitting there going like, maybe the show isn't great. But if you were to watch it in an hour and a half as like a movie, then it works a lot better. So I can kind of understand why Fallout would say, let's just get it all out there. People can watch it in 1 day if they want, or they can watch it in 8 days, or fucking whatever, 8 weeks if they want to do it 1 week at a time. And then you can kind of control the flow of the show. And I think when you watch, I always think that binging something is better than watching it in like staggered increments, because it kind of, when there's a slow point, you really feel the slow point if you have to wait a
Hmm.
week. And especially if it's like a short episode, where it's like, this episode's only 33 minutes long and there's 7 minutes of credits. And then you're kind of just sitting there just going, fuck, that was a waste of a week. I can't believe I have to wait another week to watch the next one. Whereas if you could have watched it all together, it's like, okay, that was a bit slow. Let's watch the next one right now. So I kind of understand where Amazon are coming from. From a business point of view, I kind of understand where Netflix are coming from. But I think a show like this has gotten so popular right now because it was released all at once. Are we still going to be talking about it in 8 weeks' time? Or like, when did the show come out? Like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So
Yeah,
if it,
about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
yeah, so technically there would be another 6 weeks of it if it was released like episodically on a weekly basis. So in 6 weeks' time, is the show still going to be? Are we still going to be talking about it? I probably not, and that's kind of crazy to think about. Like, the show will just be happily waiting for season 2, but I don't think we're going to be talking about it in 6 podcasts time. I don't think we're still going to be bringing it up. If we are, I think that's actually going to be kind of crazy, because I think we'll just have moved on to something else. So I kind of understand Netflix point of view from that sense. Whereas, like, you know, if you build it up for 7 weeks and then the 8th week comes along and it's the big finale and everything, and then everyone's hyped up and they might be talking about it for a week or two, you maybe get an extra week or two out of it. You know, it's no one's going to be talking about this show in 6 weeks' time. I don't think. Everyone might be still talking about the games, but not the show.
Right. The only thing I would have to say about that is that, like, we won't be talking about that. But this will be continuing on for, I would say, months, if not a full year, depending on like how much information we're going to get additionally for Fallout. From what I understand, like we're going to see a lot of different memes and gameplays from, like, you know, things like TikTok, any sort of social medias that are still talking about like the, you know, Fallout 4 or having fun in 76. Like, I'm seeing people play Fallout 1, 2, 3, like all of them.
Yeah.
There are people who have, like, it's sprung up. There's streamers on Twitch that, like, I've never heard of them playing like ever wanting to play Fallout. And one of my favorite ones started playing Fallout 1 and he loved it. Like he hated the idea of wanting to play Fallout because it just didn't, he just always felt like the people watching it or the people playing it were divisive. Like they either loved it or hated it, depending on which game you talk about. He played 1 and he loved it. He's playing 2 and he's really enjoying it. He's probably like, he might end up going into 3, New Vegas 4. Like he might keep going. But it's only because he was able to watch the whole show in its entirety and enjoy it. Like he said, it was just really good. It was just a really good show. He also watched Shogun. And said it was really good. It wasn't as good as the original, but it was still really good. Which, like I highly recommend watching the original Shogun.
I didn't even know there was one. I didn't know it existed, so I'm gonna look into it because if it is, I loved Shogun. So if the original is better, fuck yeah, I'm gonna watch that.
I mean, like depending on how you feel, it could be like that you prefer the modern sense of the show, or that you prefer the original kind of like way that they did it within the movie.
So I'm looking here just as you're talking, and it looks like there's a Shogun show from it's a mini series, and it aired in 1980.
Yes.
Okay, is that the one you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like it's essentially like the, you know, I guess like it might have different aspects to it. Of course, when you watch the modern one, it does look a lot more stylized and, you know, a bit more polished and whatnot. And it's, of course, it has different characters. So like
it actually, I'm reading some of the description here, and it's centered around the same characters.
Yes, it's still within the novel. Like it's not it's not like trying to stray from it. So it's just that
it's very dated looking.
Yes. Yeah, of course, it's 1980s.
1980, it's very dated, but
yeah, so like, you know, I don't know if we're going to talk about Fallout, but I know that the population is still going to be talking about Fallout, especially the games, until they get tired of not having any new content from Fallout in terms of either like the next season, any sort of like speculations on the next season, or, you know, news about the next game, which you've already gotten news about the next game. So people are going to be hyped about that. Therefore, they're going to want to mine that. They're going to want to data mine that. They're going to want to hope to find anything pertaining to that. So like we might hear about it. It just depends on whether or not you want to talk about it. You know what I mean?
Listen, I kind of feel like I won't have the need to talk about the show until there's another season, I think.
Right.
You know?
Right. But in terms of
the same. Like think about Invincible, right?
Right.
Like Invincible was one that they did release weekly, but I think Invincible might have worked better if it was released all at once. You know?
Yeah, so it could have.
It sways both ways.
It could be, but I can see what they were doing. A lot of it, like a lot of the types of ways that Invincible had their showcase was through the use of cliffhangers. Every single episode had a cliffhanger. Even the finale had a cliffhanger. So like to do that and to release it all at once, there's no more cliffhangers. You would have
True.
to remove those and put something else in, or just not have any cliffhangers at all until the very end. So like it kind of like it ruins the aspect of what makes a comic book series, because most comic book series have cliffhangers. You know, every single time, like, you know, for the X-Men 97, imagine if they released all those and then like it had a cliffhanger. And yes, like we'd probably still be enticed to watch the next episode, but we could just go on to the next episode. It wouldn't be a cliffhanger anymore.
Yeah, yeah, like it's the end of when Gambit dies. Like it's kind of like it is an oh shit moment, but it's not as kind of it's not haunting you for a week waiting to find out what happens next. You know what I mean? Like,
But I like that. Like I do like
I
that.
do too. I do too. Yeah, I do.
But like, but and like that's why I also love One Piece, because every single time at the end of One Piece, it literally puts it to be continued.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, like there's always like it always ends in a cliffhanger, always says to be continued, and then it gives you like a little snippet of what's to come.
Fuck yeah. That's epic.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to state that like for your Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the modern one with Donald Glover.
Yeah.
It like I remember looking at it and I wasn't that interested, but at the same time I was I'm interested in watching an anime called Spy X Family.
Oh, nice.
Or Spy Family. So it's it's essentially in the same type of realm, but it's like animated. So like it's a spy who has to build a family to execute a mission, but not realizing that his adopted daughter is a telepath and the woman like he agrees to marry is a skilled assassin.
Oh my god.
So like it's the exact same situation. It's just now they have a daughter involved.
Wow.
So and I'm taking the snippet. Yeah. Well, and I'm taking the snippet from like the details from Google, like just so that because I haven't watched it yet, but like I've seen snippets of it like on TikTok and other social medias, and it looks fun. They're even having a movie coming out for it. I can't remember what it's called, but apparently it's like a good show from what I understand.
Cool.
So if you Spy Family or Spy X Family, it's like Spy Cross Family, I think.
I'm just taking notes here,
Yeah, so if you like that spy stuff and whatnot, like anime has stuff for everything, dude.
Yeah, facts. I might leave it here for the week, guys. So next week we're gonna have episode 8 of X-Men 97, which I think is the beginning of like the last 3 episodes, which I think is going to be one single arc. It's like part 1, 2, 3. So I think we're gonna be kicking off into a cool 3-parter story to finish off season 1 of that show. I don't really know if there's anything else kind of expected, keep the ear to the ground and we'll kind of just go with the flow. It might be a short one next week if we only have X-Men to talk about, but I'm sure there'll be some nerdy news from the week that we can kind of delve into as well, or we can go into some of the spoilery stuff if we have nothing to talk about and we want to keep it going. But yeah, if you're new to the channel, guys, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new as well. It'll help us in the future getting more recommended content in your feeds. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Music or anything like that, a review would really help the channel as well. So it just helps with discoverability and all that sort of fancy lark. Okay, guys, see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.